Ready when you are, go on.
OK, time now for a look at a sector that's growing rapidly and becoming more and more important to the Notts economy, green businesses. With rising fuel costs and worries about global warming, sales of environmentally friendly products like solar panels are soaring.
The last statistics we had talked about around about 30,000 people in Notts and Derby working in the kind of emerging green economy. Those statistics I think are probably a little bit out of date, but certainly big growth in terms of renewable energy and sustainable construction, building and design type activities, very much on a growth curve.
At Nottingham's Antenna Media Centre, local firms who are developing the industry here in Nottingham are gathering to swap ideas, and growth is in the air.
Although we're a tiny business, we work for blue chip clients.
Tonight we're talking to Chinook, who have recently got one of the largest contracts in the world to build an energy from waste plant in the Middle East. They're creating a big new development up at Bulwell that's going to employ about 200 people, a manufacturing facility and an energy from waste facility. We've got companies like Romax who do a lot of the technology around wind turbine gearboxes, Monsell in Mansfield, who've recently been invested in by GE, massive great investment from a kind of American global consortium to actually start to take their renewable energy technology and market it worldwide. So there's some amazing companies locally based and some great news for Nottingham.
And what's the potential then? How big can it get in this part of the country?
It can get massive and it's growing all the time. I think there are big opportunities in terms of, for instance, the water side. Blueprints have pioneered very kind of green housing and they're looking to replicate that all through the development in the water side. We've seen a big emphasis on kind of recycling energy from waste, and there's whole new supply chains starting to emerge around things like wind farms, especially offshore wind farms, with kind of, they're talking about 80 to 90 billion pounds worth of investment in over the next sort of 15 to 20 years, which a lot of kind of local engineering companies could benefit from in terms of making many of the components that go in things like wind turbines. So phenomenal opportunities.
OK, thanks very much, Neil. Well, talking of growing businesses, Helen McCulloch has been along to meet a fitness instructor who's making sure business leaders get their companies healthy. I'm back at Antenna, and as you can see, things are livening up a little bit here at the CleanTech network, and I've managed to bring out a couple of people who've got green businesses here in Nottingham. So, Jerome and Kevin. Now, Jerome, I'll just speak to you first of all. Jerome, what's your company? What do you do?
Well, I work with the Nottingham Energy Partnership. We're a charity-owned business, so it's a social enterprise. Really, the aim of the organisation is to drive forward carbon emissions reductions to support the growth of the local low-carbon economy. So we work with large organisations like NHS trusts, all the way down to small organisations or businesses that actually want to supply into the low-carbon sector.
And why do you think there are so many firms like yourself in Nottingham? What's special about this place?
Nottingham's got a long history of engagement with the low-carbon issues, as it were, and we've got the UK's largest district heating network. More recently, the work that the Nottingham Energy Partnership's done in partnership with health and local authorities, we've rolled out masses of programmes around domestic energy efficiency. We now have 1 in 40 of the city's houses have solar panels on the roof.
Well, thanks, Jerome. You've nicely set up Kevin. So, Kevin Hard, you're from Evo Energy, based out in Chilwell, and people might be surprised to find out we've got one of the country's biggest solar panel companies here in our patch. Yeah, so tell us about your firm then.
Yeah, so we grew up in Nottingham, so we've grown to be one of the market-leading rooftop solar PV installers. So we employ nationally. So the head office is Nottingham, so we get some real good talent from places like Nottingham University.
Which is where you're from, isn't it?
Yeah. So and then but we've got 4 offices all across the country. We work everything down from Cornwall up to Scotland. We work with the big 6. We're partnered with npower and E.ON, and we do a lot of solar installations for them. Some of our local programmes were Nottingham City Council, so we did a 1,000 house rollout with them. We're also doing the Nottingham Tram, the tennis centre. So in terms of Nottingham businesses, we've done quite a lot of work.
So tell me about some of the companies you've been working with. It's firms like BMW, isn't it? Really big names.
We've just done the 3rd largest solar PV installation in the country. It was around 12,000 panels on one rooftop.
12,000?
It was incredible. You walk on the top of the roof and it's a sea of solar panels. But we're helping really contribute towards BMW's carbon savings, helping them secure their power prices. And it's great projects like that.
What does it mean for Nottingham that a company like you is based here then?
Primarily Nottingham's just a good hub for networking, getting good talent, and we can access the rest of the country, so we can jump up and down the M1 really good. We've got good support, and we've got a positive council that's really after green and saving carbon. We work with the local NGO, so it's an NEP that really helps us just really work in partnership and use everything to our advantage.
Now, thanks, Kevin. And Jerome, there's undeniably a real buzz about this place, isn't there? I mean, is this a sector that's growing in the city?
Oh, definitely. I mean, the point actually that Kevin just made about that local interest in this sector. I mean, we've worked with the public sector locally over the last 10, 15 years, and a lot of the big organisations locally, like the universities. Nottingham University is the world's greenest university. Nottingham Trent University is I think one of the greenest universities in the UK. And the NHS locally are very committed to reducing their carbon emissions, as well as the public bodies like the local authorities. So there's a real demand there for these services that we've helped as well. Sort of focus through working with those sort of organisations. So I think that creates a marketplace. That procurement drive creates a marketplace, which means there's a lot of businesses who are supported by a local demand and then can spread and sell those services further and wider. And we're now, today and yesterday I've been working with Savannah University in Georgia, looking at carbon management, because in the US, carbon management is still a very young field, and they want to learn from what we're doing in the UK. So the sort of services we've provided to the local authorities and the local NHS, now we can actually start to export as knowledge to other countries that are starting to take that on, and learn from us.
So, Kevin, how big can your company grow?
We're installed nationally, so my intention is to make sure we're solid in the UK. We've layered in lots of different finance solutions, so I think one of our key objectives is making solar available to everyone, whether that's in Nottingham or whether that's in the South Coast. It's making sure we've got all the different finance packages available for anyone to be able to do it.
Okay, so I've got an average semi-detached house. How much is it going to cost me to have solar panels installed?
A typical home now, the average system size is around 3.2 kilowatts. That will cost in the region of £6,500. So that's still quite a lot of money to a lot of people, but the key thing there is those homeowners are getting around 11-12% return on their money. That's the most important thing.
Well, two guys there with very interesting business ideas, but how do you go about protecting those business ideas? Well, that's where intellectual property law comes into force. And Jane Dodge has been to meet one Nottingham business that's been doing just that for more than 100 years.